Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Thank you for joining me today. I have a special guest on the show with me. He is a board-certified psychiatrist, author, and dating expert who's been featured on Fox News, The Today Show, several industry publications, and as the co-host of WeTV's Marriage Boot Camp Reality Stars. Please help me welcome on the subject of dating, mating, and everything in between, Dr. Ish Major. Dr. Ish, how are you today?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Doing very well. I'm excited to jump into the conversation because this is a topic that I think, regardless to all of the technology and instantaneous information that we have at our fingertips, this is something that I still think people are striving to understand. And I don't know if it's just because we are ever evolving as a people, but I'm excited to help some of our listeners understand this whole concept of dating, mating, and all the stuff that goes along with it.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. When it comes to dating, in your opinion, and I know we've seen this with our new generation, but in your opinion, is it okay for women to approach men?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the numbers are dictating that they have to now, right? Because especially if you're talking about dating brothers, because there's not a lot of eligible single brothers walking around out there in the streets, right? The ones who are on the streets, half of us are taken or half of us are not into what they are looking for. And so, yeah, absolutely. And from a guy's perspective, I don't know about you, but it's one of the most flattering things when it happens, because this shows that she's confident. This shows that she's not afraid to be rejected. This puts herself out there. And here's the thing that every woman needs to know. Guys like to be wanted too. So absolutely, if you see a guy, go for it. Why not?
So how do you recommend they approach it?
I recommend the direct approach. Right?
Okay.
Look, you're a woman. Be flirty. Do your woman thing. However that swag works for you. Do your thing. But at the same time, here's the thing, Cornell. A confused mind says no, especially when it comes to guys. If we're not sure what's happening in the situation, we're going to say no. If we're not sure what exactly it is you want from us, our mind is going to say no. So make it very clear what you want, what you're interested in. I think you're interesting. I would be interested in getting to know you or allowing you to get to know me. Make that part clear. But however you want to put whatever wrapper you want to put that in, yeah, that's the individual choice, and that's the beauty about being an individual. You know, you got to express it however you want.
Mm-hmm. So is this a whole idea? I know in generations past, you know, women were that bashful and kind of mysterious and kind of made men kind of be interested because they were kind of just to themselves and almost, like a mysterious type thing. Is that kind of gone away now? Is that woman kind of obsolete?
You know what? I don't think it's gone away. And if that's who you are, here's what I would tell you. This is the age of authenticity. You need to be authentic. If you're naturally shy, you're naturally bashful or coy or sheepish, then that's your thing. Do you, right? Don't try to get out there and be anybody else. But if that's not you, you know, we got a lot of women here out there handling their business, and they don't have time for that stuff. So they need to get what they need when they need it, and they need to let folks know, and they don't have all day to do it. So if that's who you are now, be your authentic, true self. And here's what women need to know. The number one thing that's sexy on a woman when it comes to her coming up or getting come up to by a dude is confidence. We want y'all want us to have swag. We want to see you with that same swag. When you come up to me and you're like, hey, I'm interested, I like this or like that, blah, blah, blah. That's confidence. And that is an aphrodisiac to top all others.
I agree. In your book, Little White Lies, A Woman's Guide Through the Lies Men Tell and Why, you deal with how women should handle first dates. How exactly should a woman handle their first date with a man?
You know what? Here's the thing. Set the expectation. You know, there's nothing worse than sitting through a first date because it's an interview process, right? And you're trying to be nice about it. And you're trying to find out all you can about each other. Do we have a connection or do we not? Well, you've got some connection. Otherwise, you wouldn't have shown up. Now it's time to see, do we have any chemistry, right? And the number one rule, be transparent. because the more transparent you can be and let each other see who you are, the quicker we can get to this decision of, can we do this you and I thing or not? Do we want to take this to the next date too or not? And for women, I tell women all the time, set your expectations, right? A guy's showing up for that first date because he needs to know what's the asking price. What are you asking for? In order for me to get what I want, what is it going to take? How many times am I going to have to call you per week? 3 times, 4 times? How many texts are you going to need per day? One in the morning? What? So, ladies, set the expectation. Let him know exactly what it's going to take to make you happy, because guess what? That's why he's there. He's there because he thinks he's got a shot at making you happy. Your job is to let him know exactly what that means. And don't shy away from the conversation of what you're looking for. Set the expectation up front. If you want a relationship, you come and say, listen, you know what I'm in this for? I actually want a long-term relationship. I don't know if that's going to be you or not. That's what I'm here looking for. That may be you, that may be not. That may not be anything about what we do, but ultimately that's what I want. And the guy for you, you're not going to scare them away, because a lot of ladies won't have that conversation because they don't want to scare them off, you know?
You mentioned a key term that has been in the conversation of dating for years, and that's chemistry. Demystify that for us, because I think people have their own idea of what that is. What exactly is chemistry?
Chemistry is that unspoken thing. You know, it's like, I don't know what it is about this person, but I like them. I'm drawn to them. I'm attracted to. I like the way we interact. It's a good tennis match. I hit the ball, they hit the ball back, and our thing just works. It's like an unspoken thing. And one of the things that helps aid that chemistry is when you're curious about each other. So on the first date, back to the first date, be curious. Ask questions. This is not a download dump for you to tell me your life story and me, and vice versa. But I want to know if we got a good back and forth. It's an unspoken thing, but you almost know it immediately. Here's the truth. Women know within 3 seconds of meeting you if they have any chemistry or not. So if she's at the first date, forget about it. She already thinks there's chemistry there, because otherwise she wouldn't have shown up.
That's true. That's so true. Now the key is if you as the man can keep that chemistry going and growing versus putting the flame out, because sometimes we can put the flame out on that if we do certain things or behave in certain ways. So that's the key, I think. Now, you say also in your book, you talk about what women should not fall for. What do you mean?
Don't fall for the okie doke, right? Because everybody's got an agenda, right? And here's the thing. Women, you're there because there's something you want. Do you want a boyfriend? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Do you want a husband? Maybe not. Do you want a hookup buddy? Do you want somebody just to talk to, somebody to go to dinner and move? Whatever that thing is, set the expectation. Ladies, understand he's there looking for something also. And it's your job to read between the lines and figure out what that is, because a lot of times guys won't be honest when it comes to that. A lot of guys don't want something serious. And you've got to read between the lines to see what that is. And to do that, you have to listen to the things he's not saying. If he doesn't say, I want a girlfriend, that means he probably doesn't want a girlfriend. If he doesn't come flat out and tell you, yeah, ultimately I'm looking to settle down and I would love to have a wife, then that means he is probably not looking for wifey material, because that's what you need to do to read between the lines, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Now, you mentioned that, and I know a lot of women deal with that whole call at the end of a date or the next morning or text. They tend to think if they don't hear from the guy like that evening or first thing the following morning that he's not interested. Is that always true? Not really.
It's a weird thing. Some guys like to stick to that 24, 48-hour rule. Some guys don't. Some guys are like, I'm going to text you or call you on the way home. My rule is, if it feels natural, go with it. If you had a great time, it just overwhelmed you, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I hadn't had that great of a time on a date in forever, and you feel like calling them right back, then call them right back, because guess what? She was there too. She felt it too if you felt it, and so it's got to make sense. Things need to match, right? Remember, confused mind says no. She had a great time. You had an amazing time. She didn't have you for 2 days because you're sticking to some stupid 24, 48-hour rule that you read in somebody's book. Now she's confused. Now you just did what you said. He just threw off the chemistry, right?
Wow. When it comes to sexual activities between a man and a woman, how, and we know this can take place in various levels of the relationship based on the decisions, but how should a woman prepare herself emotionally when making that decision to be sexual with a man?
I think she got to go with her gut. Women have this amazing thing called gut instincts, and they are much better at listening to it than we as guys are. And so, ladies, you know when it's time, right? You can't stick to some cookie-cutter generic rule because the same thing don't work for everybody. Everything ain't for everybody, right? And so, again, you're there. You're in the moment. The chemistry is there. You've had the conversations. He knows what you want. You know what he's want. You've set the expectations realistically. You're two grown people. Y'all can make that decision and go there and understand what it does and what it doesn't mean if that happens. And so I don't subscribe to this 3 dates minimum, 3-month rule. I think that's all BS. I think you got to go with it in the moment because, again, remember, a confused mind is going to say no. We're on date 4, and it's been lovely. And, wow, things have been escalating. We've rounded first, second, and third base and look like we're about to slide into home. She puts the brakes on. Okay, what's going on here now? Is she playing me? What? Now I'm confused. Now, ladies, you just do the chemistry off. Do the thing that feels right. Don't overthink it.
Deal with maturity in relationships. How important is it?
Well, listen, if you talk about long-term relationships, that's grown folks' business, right? So you've got to be mature. You have to have put your own demons to rest, whatever those insecurities and those things are. We all have them, right? They always come up, but you've had to have done a pretty good job of moving past those things, kind of moving past your ego, me, because relationships are all about we. There are no more me issues, there's only we issues. So if you're at a place where you feel like you've done that, you've done you or you are doing you and you're comfortable with where you are and you're really ready to devote your time to making this other person happy, because see, relationships are about going and giving that thing you're trying to get. You can't go in there looking for something. You got to go willing to give something. And if you're going to give something, that means you got to have something to give. And so once you're at that point, maturity-wise, you can do it. Because the majority of what we're going to do is doing the business of this relationship, doing the business of being married, making sure the bills are paid, making sure we're running the business of our household, right? It's not all about those first few dates where everything is flying high and we're infatuated and it's all lovey-dovey. No, most of what we're going to do is the friendship, doing the business part, and that takes a mature level head.
As the co-host on WeTV's Marriage Boot Camp, what are some of the common traits or issues that you found in the couples you worked with?
Ego, massively overblown egos, super-duper insecurity. Just because folks are on TV, just because folks have a lot of money, don't think they're any different from you and me. They got the same insecurities, the same self-doubts. A lot of bad things have happened to a lot of us. People think that their trauma, their tragedies make them unique. No, it doesn't, because the same bad things happen to all of us. And what I see with a lot of the folks who come through our boot camp is they've had these life events. Somebody did something to them. Something happened, and it changed them. And they're walking around holding on to that anger, holding on to that resentment, and it changes who you are, and it starts to destroy you and destroy your relationship. See, nobody ever died from a snake bite. It's the venom that gets in your system and starts to circulate that kills you. Same thing when it comes to getting over something bad that happened to you. You got to figure out a way to forgive and let that thing go. So those are some of the traits I see with every new cast we have come in.
How do you guys approach, or what's your process for helping them?
So the process for reality stars is different, right? These are big personalities, and they've got big problems, and they've got big egos, and so there's a lot of resistance. And so our approach is to go in fast, go in hard, and we hit them hard. On day 1 and on day 2, we hit them harder, and it gets worse and worse all the way up to day 3, because at some point you need to realize that you're here for a reason, we're here to help you, and if you don't have sense enough to make use of the tools we're trying to give you while you're here, you're just going to leave up in a worse state than you came in. And so we go in, we hit them hard, we hit them fast, and it's a wearing down process, right? Just like with if I'm in a hospital giving medication, it's a matter of timing and dosage. And so we got to know when to push the pedal and move forward. We got to know when to ease up and take the brakes. It's just a matter of being a professional and knowing your craft.
I know it may not be something that may be spoken, but are there times when you feel divorce is the best option?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, as much fanfare is put on finding the one, the bigger part of any relationship is knowing how to let them go when they're not. And some of the biggest success stories that we've had, and I've seen on the show and in my private practice, is helping people let go in a mature, responsible way. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. We just don't work together. Right? And so instead of robbing each other of the chance to be happy and robbing that other person who's out there looking for somebody exactly like you or me right now and who will take us exactly as we are, we need to do the mature, responsible thing and let each other go. And it's not a failure. It's a natural thing, right? Everybody you date, you're not supposed to marry. That's natural. Relationships run its course like everything else. And so you just got to understand that doesn't mean there's anything wrong. That just means that the thing that happened was supposed to happen.
You said something key, recognizing when you just are not good for one another. I think that kind of ties into this whole term that I've been hearing, and I know it's been around for a while, of toxic relationships. What makes a relationship? What are the signs that a relationship is toxic?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of outward signs where you can look at people and just tell they're bitter or they're a shell of themselves or they're just not happy. What makes a relationship toxic is very, very simple. When you show up every day and the person you're with makes you feel less than, then it's toxic. Simple. And it takes you understanding what you're worth to do something about it.
Wow, that's so good. You touched on this a little bit, and I just want to kind of pull it out a little more. When it comes to this whole idea of act like a lady, think like a man concept, what exactly does it mean? And do you think it's beneficial for women?
You know what? I think there's definitely some good in it. I love Steve Harvey. I love everything he's done there. And I think from the woman's standpoint, it goes back to, being able to read between the lines, kind of read the tea leaves, read the stuff he's not saying, understand that he's got an agenda just like you've got an agenda maybe. And so I think it's really good when it comes to just understanding where the guy is coming from, right? If you're talking about be a woman and date like a man or act like a man, okay, well, that part doesn't work because you're not a man. You got estrogen floating around and we got testosterone floating around in us. That's how it's supposed to work. There's goes back to that chemistry thing. There's a reason for those imbalances because that's how the chemistry works. And so be you, be a lady, be a woman, be all of that. Understand that men and women think differently. Women are process-oriented, guys are results-oriented. Understand how that plays out in your individual relationship and be able to call this guy on his BS when there's stuff going on that you understand. So think about it from that standpoint. But otherwise, you always got to show, if you're a woman, you got to show up and be a full-grown woman. You're not going to get out here and act like a man. But you can understand how he thinks, and I think that's a great thing about what Steve is teaching folks.
In what ways do you think women tend to run men away?
Well, some guys just not ready, man. You know what I mean? And that's the truth of it. And here's the thing I tell women, because they show up and they try not to be all of who they are. They're like, he's like a little kitten in the corner. I don't want to say too much or do too much or put too much responsibility on him. And, as brothers, we traditionally shy away from that for a lot of reasons that we probably don't even have time to begin to get into right now. But here's the thing women have to understand. The guy for you, there is nothing you can say and there is nothing you can do that's going to scare him away. Because the guy who's there for you, the guy who is ready for everything you're ready for, he is waiting for you to ask him those hard questions about who he's seeing and how many women and what he's looking for. And he wants to answer those questions. And when he shows up and you don't ask, then he's disappointed because he's like, well, I guess she's not ready then. And so never shy away from the things you want to know, because those are the exact same things he wants to know also, because he wants to let you know that he's the guy. And so you got to provide the opportunity for him to do that, and you do that by having the hard conversations. Don't shy away from it. Don't be scared of it.
As we close, I must ask you this burning question in the minds of women.
Lay it on me.
They all want to know, and I think it's such a challenging question to ask, but they want to know, why do men cheat? Do you have any perspective on that?
Listen, here's what ladies have to know. The number one reason guys cheat, 9 times out of 10, doesn't have anything to do with them. Right? And a lot of, there's that old saying, everything is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. Right? And so 9 times out of 10, man, it's something that he feels is missing on the inside. He needs to feel a certain type of way, and he's not getting that from his woman, whatever that is, whether she's not making him feel appreciated enough, adored enough, respected enough, man enough, whatever that means in his mind, right? And so he's looking out here to see if he can find it from somewhere else. And it's a natural thing. If you don't feel like you're getting it at home, you're going to naturally look elsewhere, look outside of the relationship for it. But a lot of times it's just that. And when a guy does cheat, and it is just about the sex, ladies have a hard time getting this, because this is not how their brains work. They have a hard time separating sex from relationship. Guys don't. Guys can view that just like, I was hungry, so I went to McDonald's and got a sandwich, right? And then now I'm not hungry anymore. Guys can separate it and compartmentalize the sexual act, the act of having sex, from any emotion whatsoever. And so that's a hard thing for ladies to understand. But you got to look at it in the totality of it. But understand, most of the time when the guys cheat, ladies, it don't have anything to do with y'all. It's got everything to do with him and what it is like he feels he's lacking. And so when women say, well, how can I stop him? Well, the answer is you can't. The way you stop him from cheating is you stop dating him, because he is who he is. And once he shows you that, then you got to make a decision. Is this the guy I deserve to be with or not? And if the answer is no, then you got to be strong enough to say the magic word in every relationship, and that's next, and keep it moving down the road.
But so that alludes, and I'm glad you went there, to the concept, because some women think all men cheat. That's not a true idea, would you say?
Oh, absolutely not. Come on, it's no more true than all women cheat, right? No, not at all. It seems like it because we only hear about the bad actors, right? We only hear about the bad guys and the things they're doing. We don't hear anything about the guys who are showing up every day, going to work, doing their thing for the kids, providing, paying bills, calling when he's supposed to, showing up when those are like the good programs that run in the background that we take for granted, because we don't ever hear about those guys. We only hear about the oddballs who are out there, the knuckleheads out in the street. But absolutely not. And ladies, again, it's a maturity issue, right? And that's the thing you're showing up on these dates to gauge. Where is this guy? Do I have a boy or a man? Do I have a prospect or do I have a project that I'm going to have to manage? And ladies, that's your job to figure it out. And a big part of that onus, ladies, is on you for knowing what you're worth. Because, see, once you know what you're worth, you're going to stop giving all these guys discounts on your time and your attention and your affection, and you're going to be woman enough to say, hey, you know what? Appreciate who you are. I know you're not to do it for me. I'm going to keep it moving.
Well, I love it. I love it. Dr. Ish, I appreciate you joining me. Let our listeners know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, man, I'm all over the place. All over Twitter, Dr. Ish Major. Facebook, same thing, Ish Major. On Instagram, Dr. Ish Major. Obviously, you can see me every week, Friday nights at 9 on WE TV, Marriage and Family Boot Camp. We're in the middle of a great season. We got Jim Jones, and we got the Grazianos. We got the Mob Wives. We got some teen moms for you. We got Amber there. We got some Real Housewives. We got Brandy Glanville. And so I'm all over the place, man. I'm easy to find.
Okay.
And I also have a great group on Facebook, Relationship Issues, that everybody should go and sign up for, getting a lot of cool questions, and I answer each one of them personally, and it's a free group, so sign up for that on Facebook. It's a great thing.
And I'm going to throw something out there, and I don't know how you can make it happen, but Marriage Boot Camp is a successful brand, but I think there needs to be something for these singles, because some of these singles are just suffering. They think they're just going out of the, and I know relationships tend to be geared towards the ones who are committed, but a lot of these singles are really suffering. So if there's something, I don't know if the producers are thinking about it, but there needs to be something for these singles who are just on this quest and can't find their way.
We are thinking strongly about that, trying to figure out a way to do it. That's a great idea. It's come up, and every time it's come up, we're like, it's a great idea. We've got to figure out how to do it. And so, because you're right. There's a lot of singletons out there, man, who are just slugging it out and just getting their butt kicked when it comes to this dating game, because it's rough out there, brother,
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to figure out a way to get this thing done. And a part of that is getting them to understand their self-worth, getting them to understand that they don't need to manipulate folks out here to get them to like them, and to put it plain and simple, injecting them with some act right so you can get out here and act like a grown man and a grown woman to get this thing done. So I think it'd be fun.
That is key. Act like a grown man and a grown woman. That's what Steve should have titled the book. Act like a grown lady.
Yes, I love it.
Well, Dr. Ish, I appreciate you again for joining me and appreciate the great work you're doing, and I'll definitely be in touch.
Absolutely. A pleasure, brother. Thank you.
Well, this has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.